Good morning. Those who are picking up friends and family at the airport can now go back to the gate. This practice hasn't been around since 9/11. However, it is going to be different than it used to be. Non-passengers must apply online for security clearance up to 7 days in advance of the day that they want to visit the airport. They also have to have a passport or real ID. Consumer Reports issued their findings of the least reliable cars for the year ahead. Kia and Mazda tied for the makers with the most entries on the list, with 2 models each. Consumer Reports says it bases its reliability predictions on data gathered from car owners each year about problems they had with their vehicles in the previous 12 months. Well, stocks jumped on cooling inflation. Housing especially was notable for a decline. Airfares also went down last month, but some of the data was collected during the government shutdown. Well, American Airlines will no longer allow basic economy flyers to earn miles and status. Basic economy tickets are airlines' most restrictive and already do not allow for changes or seat selection. The move comes as airlines across the board have been chasing customers who are willing to spend more to fly. And penny mourners will gather in D.C. this weekend to say goodbye to the coin. The event, which lists former First Lady Mary Todd Lincoln as one of the hosts, is being held to, quote, honor our fallen friend. The funeral will take place at the Lincoln Memorial. Attendees are encouraged to bring your own penny to pay your respects. Instacart will pay $60 million in refunds to consumers as part of a settlement with the Federal Trade Commission. The agency alleged that Instacart used a number of deceptive tactics in its subscription sign-up and satisfaction guarantee advertising that caused consumers to pay more in fees and prevented them from securing refunds. The FTC also said that Instacart falsely advertised full refunds for users who had problems with their order. Well, the House of Representatives approved the SPEED Act, which would reform U.S. permitting law to speed up the build-out of infrastructure key to artificial intelligence. The bill is supported by big tech giants like OpenAI, Micron, and Microsoft. The bill now heads to the Senate, where it's likely to be part of a larger conversation around permitting reform. LG Electronics will let owners of its televisions delete Microsoft AI software amid a consumer backlash. Owners of LG TVs have complained that Microsoft's Copilot assistant popped up on their screens with no way to hide it or remove it, sparking concerns about privacy and forced AI. Well, NASA's new administrator, Jared Isaacman, said the agency will pick whichever company builds its moon lander the fastest, whether it's SpaceX or Blue Origin, to put humans on the lunar surface for the first time in more than 50 years. Both SpaceX and Blue Origin hold contracts with NASA to build lunar landers for the agency's Artemis program. In fact, SpaceX has more than $4 billion worth of contracts with NASA. President Trump has signed an executive order reclassifying cannabis. This eases research, banking, and tax restrictions and marks the biggest federal cannabis policy change in decades. Also, Medicare will launch a pilot program in April for some patients with chronic pain to test cannabis intake. It could also mean big pharma will start to get into the cannabis space. Well, Walmart, the world's largest retailer, says it's keeping its vow to keep costs low while removing synthetic dyes and 30 other ingredients from its private label brands by January 2027. Walmart's private branded products are already 90% synthetic dye free, while lines like its Better Goods are created entirely without artificial ingredients. The announcement includes the removal of artificial dyes, flavors, and certain preservatives, artificial sweeteners, and fat substitutes. President Donald Trump's social media and crypto company is making a huge bet in a far different industry: nuclear fusion. Trump Media and Technology Group announced a surprise merger with TAE Technologies. It's an all-stock deal. It's valued at more than $6 billion. It would create one of the first publicly traded fusion companies. Fusion has long held the promise as a source of clean, safe, and cheap energy. And BP's new CEO is an American defender of oil and gas, Meg O'Neill, set to become the first woman to lead an oil major as the company looks to reinvigorate its fossil fuels business. TikTok has signed a deal for a new U.S. joint venture. This is the deal that is backed by President Trump. Now, here's how it breaks down. The U.S. TikTok will be owned by Oracle, the private investment firm Silver Lake, and an investment firm out of the United Arab Emirates. Less than 20% will be owned by the Chinese parent company ByteDance. The new entity will retrain TikTok's algorithm on U.S. user data, and Oracle will oversee storage of Americans' data and be in charge of content moderation. While holiday travel kicks off this weekend, AAA predicts record-breaking crowds. About 122 million people are projected to travel at least 50 miles from home between December 20th and January 1st. That's a 2.2% increase over last year. American Airlines says today will be its busiest day at the airports, and Hertz expects tomorrow to be the busiest car rental day. Well, Chipotle is jumping into the protein trend with a new high-protein menu, which will launch December 23rd. The Mexican food chain said the curated lineup includes options ranging from 15 to 81 grams of protein per item. The new menu features entrees, tacos, and a first-ever snack designed to meet rising interest in high-protein and macro-focused eating. Well, YouTube has terminated two prominent channels that use artificial intelligence to create fake movie trailers. Deadline reports the Google-owned video giant has switched off Screen Culture and KH Studios, which together had well over 2 million subscribers and more than 1 billion views. Well, as Americans gear up for dry and damp January, new data from Reframe, a leading alcohol reduction app, reveals what actually determines success. Reframe found going fully dry in week 1 more than doubles the success rate. Tracking daily boosts completion to 96%, and weekends and social events drive the most setbacks. Good morning. New York State officials have unanimously approved a 15-year plan for the state's power grid, aiming to balance climate law with affordable utility bills. The plan commits to more wind and solar energy, but also acknowledges natural gas and nuclear power as necessary for keeping the grid reliable. The plan is expected to create 60,000 jobs. Well, Pennsylvania remains one of the nation's leading producers of real Christmas trees, with farms across the state harvesting an estimated 720,000 trees every year. That's according to federal agriculture data. The state is home to roughly 1,300 Christmas tree farms, second only to one other state nationwide. From the New York Stock Exchange, I'm Jane King with your morning business report.